right, I went to this verse for a weird reason, so I hope it's okay. Because I was trying to, so every year, it's a joke that I preach the same sermon between Christmas and New Year's every year so that I don't have to do any extra work while I'm doing family gatherings. And it's kind of a joke because I do actually write a different sermon. But I was thinking about what keeps us from God's Word. What keeps us? And there are many things like Satan and our flesh. And yet one of those things, and that I wanted to get into, was just entertainment. If you look at time use surveys, and the US government does this really cool thing, they've done it since 1965, is they survey people on how they spend their time. And it's interesting because a lot of the things that people kind of assume aren't exactly true. Now, one of those things is people work a lot less than they did in 1965. Which, I mean, if you were around 1965, maybe you're not surprised about that fact. But where that time goes is interesting because where it goes is actually into what they call the leisure and sports category. And that category, which was once in the 1 to 2 hour range, is now in the 5 hours a day range. Which is a little bit shocking, but you divide it up and you figure out that on the big end, you know what the biggest use of time that people spend? This one's probably pretty obvious. Neil Postman was around for this one. TV. I know it's kind of gone by the wayside. They're probably counting the hours that people spend looking at their phones watching TV. But TV accounts for almost 3 hours of people's days, which is stunning. Like, 3 hours? I don't even know. This is why I'm not caught up on all the TV shows that are out there. I'm still like 8 years behind on 20 years behind on everything. I make jokes and it's like, no, I wasn't even born when that TV show came out. I'm like, I'm not that old. Aside from that, there is reading and phones, social media, and video games, and all of that fills out someone's time. Now, some people, it might be a lot more video games, some people other things, but that's about how it breaks out in average. And I wanted to think about this because of these things that like rob our attention and our effectiveness, because as Christians, we are called, it says, you are not your own, you were bought with a price. We've been given a mission on this world to bring the gospel to every tribe and tongue and nation. We are called to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, to love our neighbor as ourselves. And so, if more and more, and these surveys probably reflect Christians as much as non-Christians, if more and more this thing called entertainment is soaking up our time, we at best think about it in biblical ways. We best think about it in biblical ways. And so I started thinking, so where is there entertainment in the Bible? And it's really odd because there isn't a lot of entertainment in the Bible. People back then, they pretty much worked most of the time and made food and survived. Not a lot of entertainment, but there are a few times where there's entertainment, and one of the big ones is Samson at the end of his life when he's brought out to entertain the Philistines. Now, this is obviously a very negative form of entertainment, having your enemy, put up between two pillars. So, how should Christians think about entertainment? All right, 3 things. Number 1, yes, this is one of those sermons that has like things. This is small. Hopefully you can see it. This is a razor. Okay? Now, entertainment has more and more been becoming a big chunk off people's lives, and I think we want to do it back to just a little like slim razor. Secondly, this is a stone. We're not going to cast the first stone here, but this is going to represent the philosopher's stone. Okay, that's from alchemy. I'm trying to make a Harry Potter reference. The philosopher's stone, which in alchemy was to transmute things like iron into gold, something like that. And so we're going to think about how we might take selectively from the entertainment culture and the things that we entertain in order to transmute them to things that are useful. Might turn iron to gold. And then thirdly, we have an axe. Because there are many things in entertainment that we're going to have to take an axe to. I'll be using you later as a metaphor. I've used this before in a sermon too, but not here. Nobody got hurt, thankfully. So, what is entertainment? Now, the two big things that soak up our time, obviously, phones and television. Now, the phone is just a tool, and I, being a very holy pastor, use my phone for texting people in need and email and okay, I might do that a little bit. But the use of my phone chart doesn't lie, and it would tell you that I spend more time on my phone playing chess and watching YouTube than I do doing redemptive things. Also, social media, which might be kind of communication, but most of it is just sort of entertainment, if you can call it that. It's like not even that entertaining, and yet it's thing that like soaks up our minds with, and if I have one rant here, axe in handy, for short form videos, which have kind of like taken over people's times, which are the least redemptive thing. I confess, I have like fiddled with like trying to make some like short form content stuff for church, and it's like my heart won't quite let me do it because I feel like I am just like contributing to the problem that this is something that people as a whole should run away from. Anyways, not to get off. Then there are also like entertainments that aren't so obvious maybe to us, like is going for a walk entertainment? I think it kind of is. It's kind of the same kind of thing, like going for a walk. I mean, there are things that are good kinds of entertainments, like a wedding is definitely entertainment. A wedding is entertainment, especially if you have a couple-day wedding, which we see Jesus going to, the wedding of Cana, the wedding at Cana, bringing the best wine, like Jesus, entertainment, like not entirely separate things. Jesus did things that we would consider entertainment. Also in the Bible, entertainment, like mocking your enemy. And then you see things that are like entertainment, but they're disguised in something else. So I kind of think in the Bible, we see this in Acts 17. Paul goes to Mars Hill, where there's all the philosophy and they're talking with one another, but you get the idea that they're just spending all their time talking with each other. It's not really about thinking deeply about the world, but it's become more of a entertainment that people go just to talk, to hear, to see things. And the thing that is most analogous to this in our world today is who watches the news? Like the news ostensibly is there to give us the facts about the world so we can be a more reasoned person. And yet, I read this somewhere, I don't know, I've never been able to look it up again, that people who watch the news more than 3 hours a day are less informed to the actual state of the world than people who watch less than 3 hours of news. Which seems a little odd until you think about your cousin Larry, who watches MSNBC for 6 hours a day, or your cousin Bill, who watches Fox News for 6 hours a day, and it makes total sense. I love to listen to history podcasts. And essentially, it's like, to learn. I don't learn about the Roman Empire or something. But let's face it, I'm not listening to the Norse, Vikings pillaging Europe just because I'm interested in the history of it, but I like the entertainment of Dan Carlin's soothing voice. And even the Bible, is the Bible kind of entertainment? I've certainly been very entertained by the Bible. Like how many times I'm sitting in the office, now I have someone to talk to, and Ben will be like, look at what I saw here, this is just so funny. In fact, I am convinced that Judges chapter 3, the story of Ehud, the one judge, who might be left-handed, I'm convinced that this story is there mostly for fun and comedic effect. But anyways, other people might think differently. So, entertainment, it's all around us. It's things that we do. It's things that we participate in. How should we think about this as Christians? You can look up this verse, Ephesians chapter 5. We're going to be there the rest of the sermon. Ephesians chapter 5. Galatians, Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11. Paul gives this commandment. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Take no part. That is to be completely separate from these things, except to expose them to the light, because obviously the light is what transforms all of us. Ephesians 5:8, for at one time you were darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk as children of the light. So, if we are to take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, I think there's two things here that we should think about. And one is things that are unfruitful, and secondly, things that are works of darkness. Now, unfruitful things are things that do not tend towards what is good fruit in our lives. That is the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Galatians 5:22-23. And so, what kind of unfruitful entertainments might there be? Maybe I should brag on video games for a sec. Who thinks I should complain with video games for a little bit? All right, I'm playing video games for a little bit. Unfruitfulness, it's like unfruitfulness is thinking about video games, thinking about Sim Farm. It's like you can work at this game farming, but you don't actually get any fruit. Or you could go to the garden, if it was warmer, and plant stuff and get actual fruit from these things. It's the same kind of thing, except one is literally fruitful, literally fruitful, and the other is just entertaining. But instead of hammering like things that are unfruitful, I think you could literally, they're making up new entertainments that waste time as we speak. There are entire industries that are designed to waste time, all right? They're like the cell phone app thingies. The smartest people in the world are in Silicon Valley trying to figure out how to make you spend 5 more minutes of your time on your phone, okay? And so we need to kind of go to war against those things. But I think when we think about things that are entertainment, To say, like some, which I'm going to say that there are some that are right to do, that the burden of proof is on us to say this is actually something that has a fruitful aspect, that will produce some good fruit. And I think a lot of things in the proper place might produce fruit. And we're going to look at 3 ways that entertainment might be fruitful. Number 1 is entertainment that is restful. Entertainment that is restful. God rested on the 7th day, and God designed us. God didn't have to design us to sleep. But he said, I'm going to make people and make them spend 8 hours of their day completely helpless and vulnerable to attack from crazed weasels. Or other things. Resting was sanctified by God. Now we are called to love the Lord your God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. But as we are called to love the Lord our God with all of these things, we are also called to rest at appropriate times. And so, a kind of entertainment may have a place in our lives as rest, as kind of shaving a little bit of the toil that we have in our life, shaving a little bit of that off with the razor to put for rest. Now, I will just warn you here about rest, is that many of the things that we do for rest are not actually restful. Okay? Flipping through the reels on my Instagram, not restful. It's making my brain fire. It's making it addictive to dopamine and all sorts of bad things. While getting up and going for a walk, throwing through disc golf discs could be restful in its proper place and its proper time. And so when we think about rest, think about what is actually going to be restful. Is this entertainment? Is this 20 minutes of a show that I'm watching with my wife? Is this restful? Or am I just, filling up my time with work that is unproductive? We should be able to shave off a little bit of rest in the proper measure. Things like reading a book, taking a walk in the woods, taking it slower, and things that are ordered so that we can be more fruitful in our lives and not less. And so consider if your things that you are doing are actually restful. 2, things that are productive. Now I said entertainment. Entertainment is like mostly just entertaining, but there are actually productive things that you can use your philosopher's stone to make this thing that is like an entertainment thing into a thing that is productive for God's glory. I said that we are set apart for good works God prepared beforehand for us to do them. We're called to love the Lord God with our heart, soul, mind, and strength. There are things in entertainment that we can use in order to bring glory to God. Now, just last week, I talked about depression. And I said one of the things you can do that we are called to do as a church to be compassionate is to reach out to people. I think I may have used the word annoy, and all the people are be like, wow, I think I've annoyed people to death already. It's like, okay, maybe annoy was too strong of a word there. But to reach out to people who are in a place, and in the same way, entertainments can be something that we can invite people into. And so we can call up our friend, like, hey, do you want to catch this movie with me instead of just, spending time on our phones together? Hey, do you want to go out and play? I'm going to use disc golf as an example because as I preached the sermon, I realized that today, after church, I'm going to be playing disc golf, okay, in the snow, which is crazy, I know, but there's a tournament and stuff, and I'm going to be spending way too much time about this. So if I'm defending disc golf a little bit too much here, I have some self-interest in it, so you can be suspicious anyways. But just calling up that person needs a little comfort, be like, hey, want to go for a walk? We have wonderful trails to walk up around here. It's just an amazing thing to be able to redeem that time for something good. I don't know what the video game equivalent of that is, but young kids, you can figure it out of ways to encourage, to build up, to show the fruit of the Spirit in the time that you are spending. We want to be able to use, like the Philosopher's Stone, things that we are interested in towards good ends. And one of those things might be, inviting somebody in. And this is going to get to, I'm already getting to. So, transmuting things. Number 3 is entertainment that leads to community. And entertainment that leads to community, it's part of this, how you transmute things, is that we want to use these things to bring people together. And I think that's what entertainment was meant to do. So one of the clear positive instances of entertainment in the Bible comes from 1 Corinthians 10:27. And this is Paul, and it's kind of him using an example, but it shows the kind of attitude he wants you to have. It says, if one of the unbelievers invites you to dinner, and you are disposed to go, eat whatever is set before you without any conscience. And he's mostly talking about food offered to idols. But he just assumes that people are going to invite you over to eat. And that you can go and eat with them and have a good time. Eating meals together is a great form of entertainment that we should do more of as a church and as a people. And there's biblical precedent for it. That Paul could have said, no, you got to be praying all the time. He did say to pray all the time, but included in praying all the time was going over to invite unbelievers, going to an unbeliever's house. Now, in the same way, one of the ways to redeem entertainment is use it as outreach opportunities. Be like, I am going to invite my friends for, dare I say it, like ball golf and spend ridiculous amounts of money. Invite them to go as an opportunity to share about the hope of Jesus Christ. And so our entertainments can be opportunities for gospel witness. Okay. 3 things. That was entertainment. Was 1, entertainment that is restful, truly restful. 2, things that are productive, that lead to something good. And 3, things that build community. I think one of the most tragic things that has happened more and more, I remember this change when I was in university. I went to university around 1999 to 2008. I finished school. Yeah, I did my 3-year seminary degree in 5 years. You got to be really smart to do it in 5 years. And I saw a big change just among the people because I played on the basketball team 4 years, and in my first year, we went places and we played card games, which is entertainment, but we played them together. We played other things, we conversed, we did things. But by the time 2006, 7, 8 rolled around, all of a sudden, these things started popping up. And all of a sudden, we went on trips and people had earbuds in. People are looking at phones, listening to things. And it's interesting that these technological things, which allow entertainment to be more individualized, have had the effect of pulling us apart as a culture. So, yeah, entertainment should be more communal because that's how I think God designed entertainment to be. Now with that, so there are different ways that we can redeem entertainment. So whether you eat or drink, whatever you do all to the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. But at the same time, Paul says, take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. And this is where the axe needs to come out a little bit, okay? And this is like serious, like take no part in unfruitful. This is way too like serious. I'm not gonna take no part in unfruitful acts of darkness. And you can see Paul, in the context of this verse, the things that he is thinking about. Ephesians 5, chapter 5, verses 3 and 4. But sexual immorality and all impurity or covetousness must not even be named among you, as is proper among the saints. Let there be no filthiness, nor foolish talk, nor crude joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving. Take no part in unfruitful works of darkness. Many things might be approached with the razor, shaven off a little bit, might be transmuted with a philosopher's stone, but not in any weird, like, pagan way. But many things in the entertainment culture around us, we need to take an axe to as believers. The first being things that are sin in themselves. And taking part with them would make us partners with sin, which would involve immodest or naked people in almost every setting. Because you can fake violence, like when Tevayan, when we killed him off, when he fell down dead, he wasn't really dead. And even in a war movie, people get shot, nobody's actually really dying. But in that movie, when the young girl is taking off her shirt, that she's really taking off her shirt, and that's really someone's daughter, and that's really a modesty on the screen that by buying that movie we are taking part in. And yeah, I think fast forwarding through the naughty bits doesn't exactly let us off the hook, because it says take no part. I think the real discussion here, maybe I need my axe back out for this. The real discussion here isn't actually hey, what movies to watch, because I think that's pretty clear. The real discussion, I think, in an age when we have streaming services, is at what point does me paying $14 a month to Netflix so that they can produce more immoral crap, make me a partner with unfruitful works of darkness? And then maybe we should all cancel our streaming services and go back to getting stuff out of the library, which is a really great resource and also good and overused. I mean, the library has lots of terrible stuff too, but at least I'm not paying $14.95 for people to make the terrible stuff. And you can't escape from the world, but we can't leave the world, but we can at least say, I'm not going to pay so that men and women in any coupling can parade around naked on screen. So in short, axe Netflix, and I'm gonna go cancel my Disney Plus subscription this afternoon. Sorry, kids. Secondly, so it's don't promote, watch, take part in things that are evil in themselves. And second, things that promote evil. Now, there's many things in the world that don't have any content warnings, but they're promoting a worldview that is opposed to God. Kids shows that promote disrespect of parents. I mean, God wrote, honor thy father and mother on the rock for a reason, and we should take seriously what God has commanded. Any shows that promote sexual immorality, even when they don't show it, but promote the worldview around it, things that treat human life as less than precious. So I'm not going to let the violent shows off the hook here either, because there are ways that you can redemptively show violence, and I think the Bible does this. The Bible has lots of stories of violence. The Bible has stories about sexual immorality, but it doesn't show them in gratuitous ways, obviously, because the Bible isn't an acted out thing. It's written down. but it doesn't show them gratuitously, and it shows the end of those things, which is destruction. And so some things may be showed in their place when it is promoting the ends of those things. Now, many of these could be argued about, but I think in this, we should not be asking the question of like, okay, so what's too bad to watch? But what is glorifying to God in my life and my heart, so that I am not taking any part in unfruitful works of darkness? Man, I'm going to have to change some stuff about how I live because of this sermon. Oh well. Unfruitful works of darkness. You have the axe come down. Summary. Take an axe to unlawful entertainment. Secondly, use a razor with what is lawful entertainment to live more lives glorifying to God in general. And 3, use the things that are in the sliver, in entertainment, for God's glory and not just for personal fritting array, even if that glory is just simply rest, which is also a reasonable way to spend time. So, 2 things, one practical and one motivation. And the practical thing about all this is like using our time wisely, thinking about things rightly, is that we should, oh, it's right over there, who said, the Bible reading plan, which I put here. So, use our time wisely. Start off your day by reading the Bible instead of opening your phones. Read the Bible in prayer. This year, I am going to be using the Navigator's Bible reading plan. Woo-hoo. So if you want to read the Bible with me, I know for years I've done the McShane plan. This one is slightly less, because you only have to read the whole Bible in this one. You don't have to read the New Testament and Psalms twice. So you guys getting off easy. I'm going to come read with me. And the fun thing is, you read with me. If you ever have any questions, I'm reading the same stuff, and so it's really easy to work through there. On the back, over there, there are like 10 copies of this plan. Take one if you like. If you get to the last copy, just photocopy some, and we'll make more. But anyways, this, if you have a different Bible reading plan, God bless you in that, and it's an awesome thing to set our time and our attitudes. And finally, one word of motivation. And he told like the do not things here. But so much of the world today is simply, let us eat and drink and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Because if you don't have a bigger picture in life, just like working to get like, to be entertained, to have a little fun, seems like the most important thing that you could be doing. After all, that's life. It's just fun and games. But in Jesus Christ, we have so much more than that to look forward to, that we can live not just for the entertainment of the day, but to know that coming in the future is a great feast and great joy and pleasure that we can experience without having to worry about the child starving in Africa, because every tear will be wiped away. And so if you want motivation today to live a life more free from entertainment, look to the fact that there is more for us waiting. When we live our lives for the glory of God, that just beyond the veil is our true rest, is our true joy, that is totally unstained and unspoiled by this world. Let's pray.